and raped her and shot her point blank in the head.
Two of the most horrific crime sprees Richmond's ever seen, and this woman is personally connected to both. In just minutes, Mark Holmberg reveals her story. Good evening, I'm Bill Fitzgerald.
I'm Candace Burns in for Stephanie Rochon. First, though, we begin tonight with an update to a very sad story. It started as a night out with friends. It ended when Andrew Walters ran from police and crashed his car upside down into an Henrico swamp. He escaped.
But two sisters remained trapped inside and later died. Tonight, hours after Walters pled guilty to it all, our Melissa Hippolyte spoke to one of the girls' fathers who wants mercy for Walters. Melissa?
He does, Bill. Jessica Gallmeyer's father says he doesn't want Andrew Walters to spend the rest of his life behind bars here in Henrico County. The reason, he says his daughter would not have wanted that.
That's one of the things I'm going to miss the most, is the way that she hugged me.
Stephen Gallmeyer still leaves messages for his beloved daughter on her Facebook page.
Felt your presence this week. Come visit again soon.
26-year-old Jessica Gallmeyer died in February, along with her half-sister, 15-year-old Amanda Irby. They were killed when Andrew Walters sped away from a traffic stop, lost control of the car the three were driving in, and crashed into the Chickahominy River. Walters ran off, but the girls were trapped inside.
I do not believe that he got up that morning and said, hey, I think I'll find a couple people to kill today.
Jessica's dad says he barely knew Walters, but his daughter spoke very highly of him. Gallmeyer says Jessica would not want Walters behind bars for the rest of his life, so he's satisfied with the 15-year maximum sentence he received.
I just don't think that she would want him nailed to the cross or buried under the jail.
Still, Gallmeyer has not fully forgiven Walters yet for taking away his precious girl.
In order for me to say those words, I'd have to hear the words, I'm sorry. But I think in my heart I have.
But he has made peace with his own mortality, knowing Jessica will be waiting for him when his time comes.
I'm no longer afraid of dying because I know there's somebody there that I want to hug when I get there.
Now, Walters will be sentenced on February 18th. That's when he'll find out if he does receive that 15-year maximum sentence. In the meantime, Jessica leaves behind two young children. Reporting in Henrico County tonight, Melissa Hippolyte, CBS 6.
So much heartbreak. Thank you, Melissa. And we're still waiting for word from state troopers tonight about the name of the man who was hit and killed on I-95 South last night. Investigators say a trooper stopped to help a driver on the shoulder near the Chamberlain exit, but the man ran to the median. They say the trooper followed, but that man ran into oncoming traffic on the southbound side and was killed. The interstate remained closed for more than 5 hours during the investigation. Meanwhile, a bicyclist in Chesterfield is hospitalized tonight after being hit by a car at the Hensley and Springford Roads intersections. The shaken driver told our John Burkett she never saw the biker until he landed on her hood, knocking off her driver's side mirror. Police tell us she is facing charges tonight.
New at 11, a real mystery unfolding tonight in the Tri-Cities. A man goes to the emergency room for stomach pain. A short time later, his family gets a call that he's clinging to life after falling from a bridge. Chelsea Rarick spent the day investigating what happened.
Say this all happened around 2:15 this afternoon, but it's what allegedly took place right before this incident that has some wondering. At the marina in Hopewell, just off Riverside Avenue, the sight of police and fire trucks grabbed the attention of Jeff Davis.
I came out of the building to do a routine walkthrough of the marina. The road was blocked off. Police and fire trucks were everywhere.
Hopewell police tell CBS 6 around 2:15 Wednesday afternoon, a witness saw a man land on the street below the Route 10 bridge on the Hopewell side, suffering life-threatening injuries.
That's not something that happens every day, thank goodness.
Police say it's not clear if the man jumped or fell. However, multiple sources tell us that the man had a John Randolph Medical Center ID bracelet laying beside him. Sources say he'd been a patient there that day in the ER and walked out without being discharged. A spokesperson for the hospital says due to patient confidentiality, they are unable to provide information. Family members of the man tell us off camera that he went to the ER earlier that day for stomach pains, and it's not like him to leave. Still, those that saw today's scene say they are praying for the family.
It's a shame that they get to that point, but I certainly am. I'm not walking in their shoes.
And sources tell me the man is now being treated at VCU Medical Center. Meanwhile, Hopewell police are still investigating. In the newsroom, Chelsea Ware, CBS 6 News.
Thanks, Chelsea. Do you need CBS 6 to work on an investigation for you? Email us at newstips@WTVR.com or call our newsroom.
A Henrico woman has lost her pet. He got loosed in their West End neighborhood. While she really wants him back home, she's actually worried about what might happen if someone finds it. Our John Burkett is live to tell us why tonight. John?
Bill, it's because her pet is a fennec fox, still believed to be on the loose here in the area of Hungry Spring Road and Springfield Roads. The owner, a West End mom, asking folks out there if they see this fox to call the non-emergency line at 501-5000 and begging you not to harm her exotic pet. In this backyard off Halley Circle.
They're my babies. I mean, they're just sweet and docile. This is the dad of the missing one.
Christy Davis is licensed by the USDA to own exotic pets.
The company is called Fairy Tale Foxes. I do birthday parties. I have gone to southern states and done exhibiting. And I just try to educate the public, about these sweet little creatures.
She says two of her sweet creatures, Cayman and Phoenix, went missing Monday night.
And one of my pigs had chewed like this big of a hole, just enough for them to squeeze through.
Davis says animal control officers located Cayman a short time later.
I'm still missing Phoenix. Cayman, his brother, they've been together their whole lives, was found yesterday morning on Hungry Road. He had been hit by a car, and he didn't make it.
Davis says she prays that Phoenix is still alive and roaming, but worries about the temperature dropping over the next few days and how people living in the area might react if they spotted her fennec fox. She wants people to know that her fox is not aggressive, and she's begging people living in the West End near Hungry Road, if they see her Phoenix, to please call police.
Animal control, they're aware of the situation in Henrico County. Virginia Wildlife, Richmond Wildlife. Can I give my email address? It's CD, it's like cat dog, CD butterfly, and just the number 3 at hotmail.com. And please, I don't care what time of day it is, I will be there.
Again, Bill and Candace, that non-emergency police line is 501-5000, and Davis does believe that fox is still in this area. Reporting live in the West End tonight, John Burkett, CBS 6 News.
Thanks, John. New at 11, a Richmond man is being recognized for shooting the second largest bear in North Carolina this week. Thomas Kapp killed the 782-pound bear in Hyde County. It's believed to be between 6 and 12 years old, and the meat has been processed. North Carolina bear season ends Saturday and starts again in December.
And it's just getting cold enough sort of be bear weather right now, although it started out nice and warm today.
It did, but things are quickly changing out there. How low will it go tonight, Zach?
Tonight's not going to be really that cold. It's a process here. The mountains kind of buffer us from that really sharp transition that you see out in the plain states where they drop 30 degrees in a matter of 4 hours. For us, it takes a little bit longer, but it will certainly get here, and you'll need to have the winter clothes, it's the warm clothes, handy. The front, again, has already moved through the area. North winds will continue tonight through tomorrow. Out there right now, temperature's not very unusually cool, mid-40s to low 50s across the area, 51 in Richmond. Tomorrow, considerable cloud cover around. On our skycast, you can see those clouds, and we'll have a chance of rain moving in the afternoon and evening. The high temperature, only 48 degrees. You contrast that with the 76 we had out there for today, so the change is quite abrupt. And we'll talk about when we'll see some real wet weather around here straight ahead.
Cold enough to kick the heat on tonight. Thanks, Zach. Well, here's an update to a story we brought to you last week. A prized family heirloom stolen from a wall at Magpie in Richmond has been returned. The owner posted this picture to the restaurant's Facebook page this afternoon saying, "Rejoice, Delia Quinn has returned." Tiffany Lane tells us the picture came in the mail this afternoon without a return address, but she says that doesn't matter. All is forgiven now that the photo is back home safe.
Congratulations, you are now members of the 113 Congress.
watching our newest congressman being sworn in at the U.S. Capitol earlier this evening. Republican Dave Bratt is one of 3 new House members who took the oath today. Bratt defeated House Majority Leader Eric Cantor in the party's primary in June and then won the general election last week. He also won a special election to take the seat Cantor resigned from as soon as possible, which is why he was sworn in tonight.
Jesse Matthews' arrest in the disappearance of UVA student Hannah Graham and his ties to a 2005 rape in Fairfax County, as well as the Morgan Harrington case, has investigators across the state checking him against other violent crimes against young women. Loved ones of those victims are wondering whether they'll finally get answers. Nancy Gowan here knows that all too well. She has ties to 2 horrific crime sprees in Richmond, and tonight she explains how her life was forever changed by serial killers, not once, but twice, and in very different ways. Here's Mark Holmberg's special report.
When it comes to baffling and horrifying serial killers in the area, few have the experience of Nancy Gowan, social worker, peace activist, believer in humanity. 20 years ago, she tried to help and befriend the man who would become one of the worst serial killers in Richmond history. And 35 years ago, her 76-year-old mother became one of the first victims of the notorious Briley brothers gang, the other worst serial killers in Richmond history.
Mom got out of her car. She had her laundry that she had done at the house. And before she got to her steps, the 4 of them caught up with her, meaning the 3 brothers and the juvenile. And they took her to her stairwell, and they beat her and robbed her and raped her and shot her point blank in the head and left her for dead. She crawled up 2 flights of steps to the neighbor's door. They had gone to bed, hard of hearing, so my daughter Mary is hearing this noise, and she opens the door on the chain and finds her grandma, who said 3 words: "I've been raped." And she went into a coma, remained in the coma for 90 days, died on July 2, buried her on the 4th of July. So it was my 14-year-old daughter that found her.
The Brileys would go on to murder 8 more people in the worst possible ways. Baseball bats, knives, forks, cinder blocks, rape, fire.
It was impossible for us to charge them with every crime they committed.
I was not this animal.
It wasn't until after they were arrested on October 22nd, 35 years ago, that the family found out who killed Mary Gowan. They would later go on to lead the state's first death row escape 30 years ago.
Convicted murderers James Briley and his brother Linwood had been on the run for nearly 3 weeks.
Nancy said she tried to find peace. She even reached out to the Brileys' mother in a failed attempt to meet with her.
I had no agenda except maybe to hold one another.
It wasn't until just hours before Linwood Briley's execution that she found some measure of peace. It was a church service for family members of murder victims and for relatives of those on death row.
Oh, so we're not so different. And went out the door and turned to my friend and I said, I know I'm in the right place. So we processioned down to the penitentiary and joined the folks on the east side, which is where you stand if you're in opposition to the death penalty.
Briley was placed in the execution chamber at 11 o'clock, and he was pronounced dead by the attending physician at 11:05.
Nancy became very active helping the homeless and the mentally ill. 10 years after the Briley's execution, she was working with the homeless at the Daily Planet and reached out to a quiet man, a schizophrenic, who would stuff cotton in his ears to quiet the voices in his head. Leslie Burchard, or Les, didn't want help. He just came to eat and play classical music on the piano. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
It was another shock for Nancy to learn that Les had been murdering between visits. As many as 11 people, several of them elderly women, the so-called Golden Years murders. I asked Nancy what she might offer to families whose loved ones are missing or have been murdered, perhaps by a serial killer like the ones in her life.
I can only say what has helped me. And, you know, prayer, meditation, hanging with very supportive people. I wish I had an answer for them. It's got to be incredibly, incredibly painful, hard to hold all of that.
And Nancy Gowan, for all of her suffering, especially at the hands of some of these terrible people, has spent her life giving back, helping the homeless, for example.
She's been extremely active in that. In fact, in the 80s and 90s, she spent a lot of time with the street team, which is some city workers, social workers that actually went out on the street to reach the homeless and the mentally ill and try to help them through these things in their environment. Very, very committed woman.
And especially because of the connection between mental illness and some of these terrible, terrible tragedies.
Some of these worst tragedies that we've seen in recent years, some of them, not all of them, but are people who are, they're holding their aching heads. They have some serious mental problems. And then there was warning signs early on. Great Deeds, for instance, you saw that, and it's happened again and again. And so, trying to reach these people is a very important thing, and she's dedicated her life to doing that.
And she was in contact with two of the worst crime sprees we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Mark, thank you for that story.
Yeah.
A Memphis woman says she was just trying to light a cigarette today when her house exploded. Take a look at what's left of it. Neighbors heard the blast. It rattled their homes. Some of the homes were damaged by flying debris and fire. Investigators think there may have been a gas leak, but right now they still aren't sure. As for the woman, she suffered burns and was airlifted to a Memphis hospital. Tonight, 2 New York window washers are back on the ground safely, but they sure gave everyone a scare when they dangled from a scaffold 1,700 feet up at the World Trade Center tower. Tonight, we've learned the New York Fire Department and Port Authority practiced for this kind of emergency just 10 days ago. But they say this case was not easy. It was on the 68th floor, and they had to cut through a very thick window to pull the men inside. Both men were tethered to the scaffold. They were taken to the hospital and treated for mild hypothermia.
Some sad news tonight for fans of The Big Bang Theory that you watch right here on CBS 6. Actress Carol Ann Susie has died. You may not know her face, but there's no mistaking her voice as Howard's mom, Mrs. Wolowitz.
Howard, the phone is ringing!
Here's a crazy
Very distinctive voice. In 8 seasons, no one ever saw her face on The Big Bang Theory. The show's producers say, though her character was a bit of a mystery, Susie's immense talent and comedic timing was not a mystery. The 62-year-old died after a 2-month battle with cancer. Past space missions have gone to planets, the moon, even asteroids, but never has one landed on a comet until today. Cheers in mission-controlled Germany as a spacecraft landed on a comet 317 million miles away. Now, this touchdown was a long time in the making for the European Space Agency. As you watch an animation of it, it's not the actual footage. Over 10 years, the craft traveled 4 billion miles, fixed to the side of the Rosetta mothership. Now, scientists hope the comet can help explain how life on Earth began 4 billion years ago.
CBS 6 Sky Tracker, sponsored by Baugh Auto Body.
Well, colder air continues to move into the region. We'll start you off the lookout across Richmond tonight. A nice shot there of the city. We have skies that are starting to cloud up a little bit. And you can see some of those clouds developing here across the state. And the colder air continues to sweep south, and that will continue to happen through tomorrow. And tomorrow will likely set us up for a long stretch of days, at least 4, where we don't ever get out of the 40s, even in the afternoon, even some of these days with a good bit of sunshine. And this air, again, just getting colder as the night wears on, and we'll feel it tomorrow. Look to the north and west, lots of snow showers. And that's snow in Arkansas. It's snow in southeast parts of Oklahoma, even a few flurries south of the Red River into Texas. Before November 15th, that's pretty unusual to have that kind of cold air that far south. We didn't feel it today. 58 this morning, 76 degrees this afternoon. Just missed a record by 3 degrees. And currently it's 51 degrees. It's the new low for the day. We have a north-northeast wind at 6 miles per hour. Drier air continues to move into the area. Down to 38 in Stanton. That's the only temperature on the map currently in the 30s, and this time of year it's fairly normal to see 30s on the map. So again, we're not seeing the cold air really yet, and tomorrow is when you really notice the difference. Back across the mountains, on the other side of the mountains, we see temps in the low to mid 30s, and then you get right under the center of high pressure out in the Rockies, and that is not a mistake. That is an actual temperature, not a wind chill, in Casper, Wyoming of 22 degrees below zero. I checked other surrounding areas, and they're also in the range of 10 to 25 degrees below zero. An incredible temperature right now, and there's still plenty of night ahead of them out there. So you look at that, and this isn't too bad here. Lows for us, looking at mid to upper 30s and a few low 40s. High temperatures as we get into tomorrow. They're going to make it into the mid to upper 40s for the most part. A few spots hitting about 50 degrees. North wind 5 to 10 and less sunshine tomorrow is going to make it feel pretty chilly. So clouds will continue to build into the area tonight. We'll have considerable clouds tomorrow and a chance of rain in the afternoon. And we could have a few flurries on the back end of this rain as it comes to an end. To Friday, we clear out. Lots of sunshine, but still chilly as high pressure continues to nose toward the mid-Atlantic. And here comes the next big blob of precipitation. This is going to come in slower. So one big change I've made to our forecast is to bring the rain in later in the weekend. Most of the weekend will be dry with the rain primarily on Monday. There's your forecast for tomorrow. We'll have rain chances in the afternoon and evening, high of just 48 degrees. And as we head towards Saturday, going to be a beautiful day here, but cold. Temps in the 20s. And this is important because the marathon, the half marathon, and the 8K, and runners are just going to have to probably wear a layer that they can just throw away and be donated to charity there after the first few miles. So it'll be cold at the start, but they'll warm up pretty quickly. All right, there are all your 40s here over the next several days. Looks like we've got 3 straight days there. And then the rains move in late Sunday night and through Monday. Monday, a very wet-looking day. And it stays cold Tuesday and Wednesday. All right, you can get your weather forecast and news headlines on, let's see here, Easy 100.9.